beautiful environment here near Bow Desert. It's called CEDAR Grove. Logan Council, far-sighted, have decided to build a wastewater treatment plant in advance of development. As development proceeds over coming years, the wastewater treatment plant will be there and be slowly upgraded or increased to cope with it. This wetland is, at this current phase, 7.5 hectares. The wetland is built here because it's part of the licence of the wastewater treatment plant, so it's very much an integral part of it. A constructed wetland, people do call them artificial wetlands, but there's not much artificial about it. It's given a regular shape to contain and control the water in a very efficient way, in the most sustainable way. Inside the wetland cells we have these plants, which are all native wetland plants. We've put 8 species into the wetland as a whole. They're planted at the moment in bands because that's an efficient way to plant. But over time they'll organise themselves ecologically, species will advance and retreat, and not too long in the future there will be a very healthy, very robust native plant population here that can cope with water. The effluent or wastewater comes from the wastewater pre-treatment process, and then a membrane bioreactor, which is a very ultra-modern treatment system. From there the water flows by gravity down the hill, enters the wetland at one end. We have 3 flow paths. These have been in turn divided into subcells to make the water more easily controllable, and also the right length and width of these wetland cells so the plants survive. Healthy plant population is the key to a constructed wetland system. This whole treatment system has a very high standard of performance that it must meet, probably I think the highest in Australia that I've seen, mandated by the Queensland EPA. So we expect to meet those licence conditions, but it's a very high standard. The wetland was decided upon by Council and by the process as a whole that this will be the best way to do it. The wetland also provides a naturalised outflow in terms of water that has natural qualities. The pollutants are all taken out and some natural nutrients are put in, particularly around organic carbon. So this is a good thing for downstream waterways. In a sense, the water that comes from this wetland will be a form of reuse of this wastewater that is highly treated and then ecologically conditioned to re-enter the environment. The level of performance, the standard of pollutant reduction that this wetland must meet, I expect is the highest in Australia by far. We're adding native diversity in wetland plants. A question has been asked about the ecology that you might find in a constructed wetland like this, for example birds or other animals. There are no large birds usually in constructed wetlands like this. It has a primary function of treating wastewater to the ultimate degree possible. So we've got a small size ecosystem. If we want larger birds, such as we've done at Byron Bay, then we need to have some open water out to the side, and we could use water from these constructed wetlands to install that kind of ecosystem. The wastewater treatment plant here will be no or very low odour. The constructed wetland will be a beautiful natural system, and there's been discussion about enhancing the larger area in future. It could become an environmental park for the future population. Our Ecoteam designed and also has long-term operation responsibility. I want to be part of the design process here was the ability to shut down one of these flow paths and have the other two be able to meet the same treatment standard while one was shut down. Wetland plants don't like to be flooded for long periods of time, so we turn them off, dry the soil out, not down to fully dry and cracking, but enough to get the wetland plants to regenerate. Wetland plants don't like to be too deep or too much water for too long. They like intermittent flows. If you give them that, they grow really well, and they've got this great ability to treat wastewater and take all the pollutants out. We want the water to trickle and spread and slow right down through the large filter of wetland plants, particularly the litter that they drop with their leaves over time. And what's really important in a wetland system like this is the biofilm. It's like a bacterial colony that grows on the plant surfaces. It's like a sticky gel, and it picks up all the little bits and pieces that flow along in the wastewater, and then the bacteria break them down. It's a beautiful natural process. It's very effective, in particular for getting rid of nutrients that are in wastewater, such as nitrogen, which is a key target for this particular system. And very high standard in the licence, in the wastewater treatment plant licence, for this wetland to meet. It is the final step in the treatment chain. Very high quality naturalised water will flow from this constructed wetland to the Logan River.